In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the PHP query string object, which is a very, very powerful object inside Game Launcher Creator v3. Now, I'm not going to go too in detail with specifics on this. I mean, I'm going to cover all the settings for it, not a problem. But as far as it goes, giving examples on how this works, I'm going to save that for other video tutorials so people can search them up a lot quicker and a lot better. So we've got, again, similar choices, the text strings. You've got left, center and right query strings. So if we dump in a center one, again, just similar properties to the text string. So we can choose in the settings a font. So let's go ahead and give it a font. So let's give it a comforter. Let's go for 11. Colors, we'll give it a white for the color, and then this is where things start getting interesting. So we've now got the script, additional settings and image responses. So the script is the script on your web server that it's going to ping. Now, we mentioned PHP a lot inside this, however this is not just limited to PHP. ASP will work with it as well, and many other different types of web queries, but this is just an example. So what you would do is, this is a get or a post query, so you can basically type in the full absolute URL to the script on your web server here, and then you can have some pre-text and post text. So for example, if your script was produces a number which shows the amount of players on your server as an example, then what you would do is put the script URL in here, and then you could put in, say, there are, and then post text would be players online. So in between the pre-text and the post text will be the response from the script. So if there's 8 players on your server at the minute and the script produces a number 8, it's going to show that in real time. It's going to say there are 8 players online. So it's very, very handy to have. And then we also have a loading text here, because some queries may take a while to produce a result. So you could just type in something like loading query, or just loading, just so the user knows that that text string is doing something if it's going to take a long time. But I've got to say that querying scripts online, it's usually pretty fast. I mean, it's very, very rare the user's even going to see the loading text, but just in case, you never know. I don't know what your scripts are going to be doing, and there is plenty of room for you to use some very sophisticated scripts with the query strings. And then if you're running the developer edition, you can also send along additional query parameters as well, and parameters allow you to send across information to your script that may be unique to the launcher or to the user that's using it as well, because sometimes with query strings, especially APIs, you know, you can post and send additional query variables that, you know, and it just makes it that little bit more dynamic. And then we have a script execution delay. Now, if you only have one query string inside your page, you can leave this, it doesn't matter, you can just set it to 60. However, if you have multiple query strings inside your launcher, then you're going to have to set a script execution delay for each one. Otherwise, it can cause problems within the launcher. It's because if say you've got 5 query strings, and as soon as the page loads on the launcher, it's going to send 5 simultaneous queries out at the same time, and when them queries are coming back, things can sometimes get a little bit tangled. So if you have more than one script in your page, set one to 60 and then set another one to 120 or something like that. So it's in frames, so for every 60 we have, it means 1 second. So if you want 2 seconds, it's 120. If you want 3 seconds, it's 180. So just set a slight delay between each query string, just to make sure that it pings the correct script and it gets the relevant information back as well. So we have some additional settings here. I'm going to cover these for you as well. So a trigger button. So basically, before I cover this trigger button, let me just do this. You pretty much need to execute the query string at the page start. That means as soon as the page is loaded, it'll send off the query string to the script, and it'll pull the information back. You don't necessarily have to have that on, but if you don't have this on, then you're going to need a way for this query string to be executed. So you can do it in terms of a button. So if you have a button that you want the user to click and then it performs the query, create the button first, get the internal name of the button, and paste it in here. And then on your button object, you go to the actions, and then you go down to refresh query string. But if you don't use a trigger button and you want it to do itself automatically, just execute query string at page start. And then you can also have an active query refresh. So if you don't have this enabled, it'll just query the string, it'll query the script once, and it won't query it again. Or if you have an active query refresh, that means it will keep updating. So it'll ping that script however many seconds you define inside here. So if you want it to refresh every second, then you would set that to 60. You know, if you wanted to refresh every 3 seconds, set it to 180. I highly advise that you don't set this to anything less than 1800, and that's 30 seconds. I mean, you could probably get away with maybe, I don't know, 800 at a bare minimum, but if you're going to do any less than that, then you might start running into problems, and the reason for that is twofold. One, the launcher may have difficulty keeping up with performing all these query strings all at the same time. I'm not saying it will, but it possibly might. It just depends on what the scenario is, especially if you have multiple query strings. And then the second reason is your server might not like it. Your server might be like, we're getting a lot of hits to the server here. And it's just, sometimes it's just unwarranted. You don't really need to update a query string that often. So I do highly recommend a minimum of 1800. If you can help it, go for 3600. And that just means it refreshes every single minute. Anything less than 30 seconds and you're probably going to start running into problems somewhere. So definitely recommend that. And then image responses, probably best saving this for another tutorial video, but I will go over it right now just to give you a quick overview of what this is. Now, this is a developer only feature in the developer edition of GLC v3. So basically, when you define your query scripts up here, say it's a query script to say if your server is online or offline. When the script when the query string queries the script and it comes back, say, online, it's just going to display the text online. However, you might want an image to represent what the return value is. And then you can do that here by enabling the image response active. And then what you do is you create a series of placeholders. So you say, for example, if the return says online, then you can specify the image file name from your launcher library to display. And then you're going to need, so we can add that to the placeholder list there, and then you're going to need to define which image inside your launcher to use for the placeholder. So in order to do that, you would have to insert an image object, and then you would have to copy the internal name, go back to the settings, and then just simply paste that in on there like that. So, and that's just telling the launcher when it queries the script online, if the word online comes back, use this image here and display it inside this image object inside the launcher page. So it's all pretty self-explanatory. I mean, that might sound complicated to you, but I'm pretty sure if you listen to it back again, that little section, it's pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, you define your placeholders in here because obviously if you have a script that says whether your server is online or offline, you've only really got 2 responses, haven't you? So you just create 2 images, one for online, one for offline, and then we're just telling it, look, use this image object here to display the result. And it won't show the text, the query string won't show the text. Or if it does, you can simply just hide at start. So you can hide this query string. So the query string will still work, if it just won't show on the launcher. It'll just show the query response inside here. Hopefully that was alright for you to understand. If not, I'm probably going to do another video tutorial specifically on image responses and stuff like that in the future. But yeah, that's the query string object pretty much covered inside GLC v3.